Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome to a video on Total War 3 Kingdoms. So, since it's now a couple of months to the actual release, I thought it would be kind of interesting to take a look at some of the footage that's been released by Total War themselves. This is one of their Let's Plays they did on their live stream, and kind of just take a look at a few of what I thought were some of the interesting features that I noticed. Things that either excite or annoy me, and sort of just hype the game a little bit about, because obviously I'm pretty excited for it to be coming out. Quite a few people have asked me, am I going to be playing it? Of course, which I am. Can't wait for it to come out. It was originally supposed to be coming out around about nowish, but it got delayed to 23rd of May. So we've still got about 2 months or so until we're going to be released. But I'm pretty excited for the release. I think it's probably a good thing that they delayed it. I think when they did some of the sort of really early access for some of the YouTubers, quite a few people had quite a lot of criticisms, particularly around some of the AI controls and stuff. So I think it's a good thing that they've delayed it to try and give themselves more time to polish the game off a little bit. So hopefully they continue to do that. But anyway, let's just hop into this video and kind of take a look at a few of the interesting points. The first one was this skill tree here. So let's just quickly just watch it.
3 trade agreements available to us, which is really nice. I've also grabbed the one that's going to give us more trade influence for a bit more cash. And then I've done a little bit of yellow maneuvering as well to get a bit more income. Yeah. And then a little bit of population growth as well.
So, of course, an interesting...
So, why did I pick this? It's just an interesting starting point. One, just from a purely graphical point of view, it has a lovely representation of the technology tree. Something that tends to be pretty bland in a lot of previous Total War games. Really nicely done. Really like it. Really like the way it's done, how it's all the branches and how they intertwine and they show what's locked behind different things. You know, how you have to unlock certain previous factors to be able to follow the branches down. I just think it's really nicely done. I know they highlight the flowers around it as you've finished researching it. Just a pretty cool little way of doing it. I'm a big fan of this, and it's quite a broad range of technology researchers to be able to go on. So that's a little bit daunting at first, but I think on the whole that's a pretty nice addition to the game. A little bit worrying that they're doing things like limitations on the number of trade agreements you can have. You know, traditionally this wasn't really a technology limitation, but much more of a diplomatic influence sort of more of event. So yeah, I don't really like the fact they put caps on things like that, but just something I noticed. But overall, I like this as a skill tree. It's kind of interesting. So let's just move on to the next section that I want to just show you, if I can find my timestamp somewhere around here.
When you're attacking.
I just want to be having a look at the different heroes, basically.
Under my champion, Zheng Yan, who is a village chief, apparently.
My lord, how can I serve?
Oh, you can serve me by...
So, I just kind of wanted to highlight in this section, and it kind of sums up the general attitude of the whole game, really, which is all this really strong emphasis on heroes. You know, everything revolves around the heroes. You know, this guy here being a village chief or whatever he is, means that he's the only one that can recruit these peasant militia here. You know, this guy on the left, being sort of the ranged commander, can only have ranged units of some sort, and this guy's obviously much more of like the melee commander. He's got cavalry and sword infantry. I just dislike the fact that you're being so channeled into each of these commanders, and the whole emphasis is on the strengths of these commanders. You know, their attributes and weapons and their upgrades. And while, you know, I know commanders were important in things like Rome 2, Attila, even back to medieval and stuff like that, they're not like, they're an addition to the army, they're not the army. And I just feel that the emphasis is just going stronger and stronger onto these commanders, these named commanders. And I don't know, it's just something I don't really like. I would much rather the emphasis was on the strategy of the pitched battle with the infantry units. I'd rather have more control rather than sort of funneling your options into less and less based on, you know, what the rank of your commander is or what his attributes are or what what his certain abilities are. And I guess if you've played a lot more Warhammer, something I've not played that much more of, maybe you're much more used to heroes and how they control the armies. But even then, I think this is more hero basis than even that. And for me, personally, that's not something I particularly like. But maybe that's something that you really do like. You know, I guess this is pushing this romance of the Three Kingdoms type agenda, which is what the game's kind of being based around. So maybe that's something you're a big fan of. I mean, if it is, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know if that's something you're much more excited about than me. I mean, it is in part a personal preference thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with the system. I just dislike it as a sort of a style. I'd much more rather the emphasis was on the army, not the heroes. But having said that, let's hop into a battle, or to their battle, and let me try and show you a few things I did find quite interesting. One of which is the formations.
That's fine, watching them all do that. So you can get those into the nice
They
shield.
just look so cool as they go into the shield wall. I love that.
You can see how big they are.
And it's also worth pointing out at this point, This is on the extreme unit scale, which is something that they've only recently shown. And you can see the unit formation, the sizes are up to 240 men per unit, which is great. I think that's something that so many people have been asking for, and it's so nice to see them take that on board and actually implement that. And yeah, I was really pleased with that. I think that's certainly a good thing, a good step forwards. And of course, who doesn't want huge epic battles? And that's cool that you can actually have units of this size.
Yeah, when they get to their formations. So they'll soak up some of our damage for us. Obviously, they're still able to move. They'll just be a little bit slower, so they can't run.
But it's worth it, really, for the trade-off.
Plus 35% range shot chance and 900% charge resistance. It's
a lot of charge bracing there, isn't it?
Just leave our
charge the cavalry into that.
Look at all these formations, Michael.
I know, these guys can go into their spear wall here.
Do a bit of square. Show me a square.
I love the spear wall, but
show me a
square. It's pretty badass, that spear wall.
Oh, yeah, look at
the
that.
Squares. I love that.
Ragtag bunch of spear muppets into the absolute unit that is the hollow square.
And of course, let's do the circle formation on these guys as well. You might smooth them out of the way.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. You might smooth them out of the way.
Oh, look at that.
I love this formation.
So
this one looks so sick.
It does look brilliant.
This is one of the nice things about having a legendary strategist right from the start of the game. You get all of these events.
You see, but then that's something that worries me. You see, they go on to talk about as one of the benefits of having a legendary strategist, which I'm guessing is one of the hero types in the game. Why? The formations are amazing. I love this circle formation. Doesn't it just look great? And the spear walls and the squares. I like that. That should be something that's implemented across the troops. Why is that limited behind a hero? I don't care about the hero. I want to be able to put my troops into squares. I think to limit the sort of tactical options that you get is kind of a shame. Obviously, if they're a bunch of peasants with pitchforks, fine, they can't form a neat square. That makes sense. But I don't know. I think that should be an option that's available based on the unit, not on the commander. But I guess I could be, unless I'm wrong in that, but that's what it seems to be, or that seems to be the implication of it. But certainly love these formations. I just would rather see them more widely implemented, because I think the more options you can have in the battle, the more different formations you can have, etc., the better. That's really what we want. More and more options. So having said that, let's go and have a look at a little bit later on in the battle. Something I think Legend talked quite a lot about, actually. So I'm not going to touch on it too long, so I'm not just going to talk over what he did. But in effect, it's kind of an interesting point about the artillery and some of the AI processes or lack thereof.
They're crushing a lot of archers straight away. That one guy just writhing around there didn't have a good time.
He's just pretending.
That must have been a good shot. Now these guys, trebuchets have ranked up a decent amount, so their accuracy is going to be much improved.
not that time.
Yeah.
Ascari
blew way.
So it's not let it ring out.
It's archer units on like half health. They're all trying to run off now.
Yeah, like,
actually, I don't
like it on the wall.
I didn't realise that's actually the same unit, but there's just so many of them like bending round the wall.
So I think the point here is there's a couple of points here which Legend made far better than I do. So go and check out his video. But the fact the strength of the artillery seems rather strong for just 2 units of artillery. Seems to be able to cause a very large amount of damage. And then there's the point of what is the AI doing? Why are they just standing here being perpetually shot? They're not actually shooting back at anyone. So there's really no need for them to be stood on this wall. And then, they're absolutely getting slaughtered by the artillery, and yet they're just funneling men further around. I know it's the same unit, but they're funneling themselves around just to stand there and get shot. So there seems to be some question about the intelligence of the AI, which I think is something that's been kind of a problem for Total War games for quite a long time. They've never been the most brilliant in terms of their intellect. I mean, I think it's more obvious depending on how good you are as a Total War player. Me personally, I'm a pretty shocking Total War player, so therefore I think I notice it less because my skill is not so much that, if I'm an idiot, so fighting an idiot is not so bad. But if you're a better player, then I think you'll really begin to notice that the AI in traditional Total War games has been pretty bad, and initial sort of implications are that they're not particularly great in this. And it's not just this video either. Particularly, it's some of the comments that a lot of the YouTubers made when some of them got early access to the game, and some of the Let's Play videos that Total War have also published on the channel kind of show the AI not really doing a lot in terms of intelligence of fighting back well. And it seems that the harder difficulty you put it on, it just boosts the stats of the unit. It doesn't increase the AI intelligence. They're just getting unfair buffs. So it's just kind of something that Legend pointed out, and I agree. It's really like why? Well, I guess I feel the more emphasis should be put on reworking the AI programming, making it better, improving it, so that they're a little bit more intelligent. So finally, I just wanted to have a look at this. Something I personally found amusing. Where is it? 103. Is a little bit of some of the artillery in one of the forests. Have a look. So they're in a forest battle, and they brought the same units. You see, so it's still same bit of units stuck with the same commanders, even an hour later.
Ground,
so the artillery starts to
just like
fire. And just I'd like to point out how green this grass is, and when we zoom in on the trees a bit, you'll see it's quite a not tropical, but not a rainforest, but nigh on. I think it's very green. There's a big river just off to the sort of the west of here, east even, and you'll see. And look, and a few flaming rocks, and a tree has spontaneously combusted.
Actually, I'm not a big fan of this. Oh, there we go.
It's
on the tree.
Fire
Now.
Just think a moment. A bit out of focus. Just think about a moment how hard it would be to set in a wet, damp rainforest type environment to set a tree on fire to make it just spontaneously combust like this would be so difficult. And I just found that probably more amusing than it should be, but it kind of made me chuckle. Like, why? It's just kind of one of those, and it just kind of sums up a little bit of my worry about the game with this style over substance, I guess I would call it. But hopefully these are things that are sort of going to be improved, not the tree. I mean, that's not really a massive problem, but you know, I would rather see more of an emphasis on a sort of a historical game. I don't mind it being the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but for me, I'd move slightly more away from the heroes. I'd like to see slightly more AI intelligence. I'd like to see less limitations on your options. If there are options available, give the player the choice. Don't limit the player. I think that's kind of something that a lot of games do, and I think it's not a good thing. But anyway, they purely are just my opinions on what I've seen so far. I've been watching a couple of their Let's Plays because I'm pretty excited about the game. You know, I should say, you know, it's not too much of a dig. I think there's quite a lot positive to be said for it, and I'm pretty looking forward to playing it in May. I'm hoping to get my hands on it. I'd be keen to hear your opinions on what I've sort of commented to this video. Let me know in the comments down below. It's always kind of interesting to hear from sort of different points of view, particularly around the heroes thing, actually, because that's kind of what I'd be interested in hearing about the most. But anyway, yes, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel for more Total War content, and I shall see you all on the next video.